Alright, what is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back. New lore has just been released for Paladins. This time is for the End Times. The first chapter was for the Ice and Fire, and now it's End Times. Now, if you guys do know what End Times is, that is pretty much the patch that we just got today. They came with cross-progression, cross-play, a new event, and some new skins. Now, before we start off, I'm going to be leaving the link in the description just so you guys to understand where this all comes from. I'm not making up anything, okay? And the same website, on the same page that you're about to enter, you're going to notice that on top says Chapter 1 and Chapter 2. The Chapter 1 was the one that has, that it's related to Ice and Fire. This all is going to lead to one big conclusion, and with this lore that we have here today, I already reached a conclusion of my own. So I'm going to be reading and sort of breaking it down slowly, what this lore, represents, what it means, what did they find, like what is going on in this lore. So let's start it off by the top. Wind beat down upon the paladins, more grit than air, as horses needed their complaints over the state of things. No matter where you looked, it was sand, only sand, hot, dead sand. Feels like home, Schelling said with a smile. Well, that's just a very good pun. Basically, they're on the Shattered Desert. This is where we're going to, do or experience the event mode, and this sort of is already their rival almost to the Shattered Desert. So let's continue. Feels more like the Abyss, Koga said under his breath. Now, this just confirms that Koga's on the Paladin side, because if I just read it correctly, Wind being beat down upon the Paladins, and then you have Xiaoling talking, and then Koga also saying under his breath, feels more like the Abyss. First of all, this confirms us two things. Koga sort of already experienced something related to the Abyss, and also now he's on the Paladin side after having that, that little argument with his master, which was Zen, and also fighting Sky for no apparent reason. But we'll get to know that in the future. I think there's sort of a reason why Koga is actually into the Paladin side, because if you guys do know sort of the lore, I think Xiaoling was also into the 1000 Hands guild and actually got out of there. I think he kind of turned on them. And since Koga sort of almost went through the same thing, now we can see that Koga is also on the side of Xiaoling. So the theory that we had that Xiaoling was actually the one who screwed Koga over, it's not actually accurate. Otherwise, they wouldn't be, side to side talking normally. So let's continue. It used to be more like Grover's home, Valera said, nodding at the tree folk before the broken moon fell. So she's saying that, this place used to have more life to it. We know that sort of the Grover's home is like a forest, and now to look like a desert, like it was mentioned before, hot, dead sand. This means that the Shattered Moon, when let those little shards hitting on that place, it became the Shattered Desert, killing everything and basically making it the desert. So maybe it was a forest before and now it's a desert. We're not entirely sure if that's what she means, but I'm guessing that it is. So let's continue. The Shattered Desert, it was here that shards of the moon once crashed down to the realm, killing everything they touched. This is exactly what I just mentioned. Now let's continue. A bright red bird broke through the sandstorm into the Paladin's view, soaring overhead with a screech. It tumbled through the air, catching the wind just in time to land gracefully on the shoulder of a red-headed huntress. Cassie, report, Valera said. So, in case you didn't understand, this bright red bird is Ziggs, and the red-headed huntress is Cassie. So basically, she sent Ziggs to try to see something, to give them a little bit of a report, scout around, and here's the next part. It's hard for Ziggs to see much in the sandstorm, Cassie said, the bird chirping in her ear. But it looks like there's a canyon up ahead that might provide some shelter. So this is sort of the time where they're about to reach the End Times map, the End Times place where we play the event mode. Then she continues, the bird screeched violently, batting its wings before taking flight in a hoof. Also, Zig says he misses the forest and would like to go home. Cassie said with an apologetic smile. So basically, it's just like a little joke. The paladins rode in silence for what seemed like eternity, their capes flapping violently in the harsh wind. There was no sense of time or distance, just a dull roar of wind and sand. Forms began to surface from the sand, tall wind-sculptured bluffs, here, bearing just the slightest traces of heavy vegetation. As the paladins rode further, it became clear not just the wind was carving the stone. Barbarics, Inara said softly. So basically, this is when they reach the place, and basically Inara just said it was barbaric. She sees the sculptures, she sees the map itself. It's all made of rock and so on, so you can understand sort of what we're talking about. Crags and butts has been shaped. I don't think it's butts. I said it wrong. Crags and boots has been shaped into crescent moons and graceful fox sculptures. So these are the two sculptures we see in the middle of the map. There's also some fox head sculptures around the map as well, which I've already seen. And if you do see it on the spawns, this little tree has sort of a little blue fox just running around her a couple of times. We already seen that before, so you sort of understand that there's something related to the fox. So let's continue here. We are treading on holy ground, Amani said with a frown, bowing her head and drawing small arcane circles with her fingertips. This place has naught to do with the pyre, Warder, Furious said, her wings arched behind her shoulders. Wherever the cosmos touches the realm, they find foolish men willing to worship them. They are far from divine. At this point, we already have Cassie and Nara, Imani, Koga, Xiaoling, and Valera, right? I may have missed Valera. I think it's that. We already have these many champions, but hold on, there's a lot more to where that came from. That this is the part where I think the lore was kind of, it was too pushed by Evil Mojo. They just tried to put everything in there, so it kind of screwed up over the lore, but doesn't matter. Let's continue. That, Janos smiled, is one point we would have agreed on. And there we go, another champion, Janos. Then it continues, the canyon close to a tight chasm, one rider wide at best. Valerish slowed her horse, alert as the paladins began to funnel through. So basically this is sort of like those little tight spaces where we start off in the beginning, where they're reaching the map. It's basically, I think it's the entrances for the spawn. Probably, we'll see. Eyes up everyone, Valerish said. The magistrate must be here somewhere. So at this point, there's another thing that I kind of miss myself with the lore. I don't understand how, I know that they need both the magistrate and the paladins in all of these places, but at all times, the magistrate always knows what's going on. And as such, they already knew that they were going there. Why? How? It doesn't make sense. This all information of we having to go to the Shattered Desert all came because of Janos talking to a moon, getting the information, invoking Imani, and then when all of them grouped up, they all got to the conclusion of the Shattered Desert, going there to then get whatever is necessary or do whatever the necessary steps are to save the world from darkness. So how the hell did the magistrate also have this? Unless they have some sort of an infiltrator inside of the paladins, I just don't know. It doesn't really make sense. Either that or it's just the lure is actually poorly made. We're gonna have to wait to see that. So, feels like an ambush, Tyra said as she scanned the cliffs tops for motion, her rifle at the ready. Another champion, Tyra also there. Valera's horse, Wynnead, shook against the chasm's tight confines, urging her to go faster, but the legendary warrior was steady, constant, slowly leading her meager army through, and into a massive clearing guarded by two giant foxes statues. Their tails curved into the shape of a crescent moon. So, that is the middle of the map as we've seen before. So let's continue. This feels more like home to me, Makoa said slowly, another champion added to the list. It reminds me of a frog isle. Talus said quickly, nodding his agreement, or Jaguar Falls, or There we go, another champion. Talos is also on this army, apparently. That it's like every single champion of the Paladin side is right there. I don't know how, but okay. But continuing on, a crack of thunder struck, a sizzle of electricity, and the taste of ozone. It was an explosion of force, a cloud of dust that blew away the sandstorm, save for the dust, some dust devils on the horizon, ending with an impact that staggered the paladins and made their horses rear up. But the sizzling sound did not end, and there was no lightning strike, only a tearing reality, a portal spinning through the air, radiating with some otherworldly power. An elf rode forward, her expression unknowable because of a veil, but her eyes entranced by the portal in the sky. Ying, no! Valera screamed. As she neared the portal, the elf illusionist's movements stretched and slowed. She stumbled towards the sun as if gravity no longer exists. Her mount's legs began to work double, no, triple time as it spun through the air, looking for some surface to find traction. And then Ying disappeared. So, this, I believe it's actually a teaser for us on how the Atlas works. And I'll explain to that why after this, because there's more information after this. But this portal that just appeared out of nowhere. We have Ying going towards this portal. All of a sudden, she begins to go like anti-gravity. We already seen that in the event mode. So my question is it possible that the Atlas Ultimate is actually a portal, and whoever gets near it actually starts to go up in the air and takes damage and maybe eventually dies, or just gets teleported somewhere on the map? Something like that. It wouldn't make sense to be teleported in the map, actually, but to me, this looks like to be his ultimate. I just don't understand what the full effect is. We already know that there's anti-gravity here somewhere, but why, I don't understand. We're gonna have to wait and see. Let's continue here. Ying, Xiaoling screamed, burying his head in his hands to hide the tears that he knew were coming. By the way, this is sort of a reference to the sort of romance between Ying and Xiaoling, or just being friends, I don't know. A green-gloved hand tapped Xiaoling on the shoulder. "I'm here, silly," Ying said. "Remember the whole illusion thing? But that portal seems weird." So, it wasn't Ying actually that disappeared, it was actually just a clone. Maybe the portal doesn't make a person actually disappear. It maybe just grabs them in this area, puts them in the air, and they're locked there in the air. They can't do anything. Almost like the Ceres Ultimate, but instead of joining them up together, whoever is close to it just gets thrown up in the air and stuck there. It's like almost like a void grip, but multiple, like in area effect. Because the clone disappears, but of course, the clones disappear multiple times for taking damage and so on. So it could have just been that. It could have been not the ultimate, okay? Not the portal. So, it seems like a source of great power, Imani said, one gauntlet shielding herself from the rift, the other prepared to strike. Janus stroked his shin, lost in thought as he stared into the portal. Something not of this world, to be certain. In case you have noticed, in this event mode, if you guys have noticed, in this event mode, on PDS this was not there, but now it is. If you go into the live server and if you enter one match of the end times, you'll notice that there's now a new animation in the beginning of the match where you get to see the portal. Inside of the portal, it looks like the space, like maybe stars just going around. So this may have been that. Janos may have noticed this. Maybe Atlas has the power to sort of create rifts and somehow uses the power from the darkness that was supposed to come into the world and they're trying to save. Maybe whatever is on the other side that we can see that it's all black with stars, maybe that's the so-called darkness. Or maybe this darkness, it's somehow related to the Abyss and maybe it's been fueling the Atlas. There's a reason why I also am saying that, you know, the darkness is helping Atlas, and I'll explain to that in the end of this lore, because that's also going to be helping with the part before. So let's continue. Genos struck his chin. We already read that. A loud screech broke Genos' concentration. A screech that kept growing louder and louder, frantic and distraught. I'm not entirely sure what this means. All of a sudden, it goes like this. Ziggs, Cassie said, pointing into the distance. The Magistrate. Figures came into view on the horizon, accompanied not by dust devils, but pillars of smoke and sand, kicked up by countless legions. The full might of the Magistrate bore down on the shattered desert. To see the full might of the Magistrate a ride like this, it was what he lived for. He brushed some sand out of his short brown hair, polished the gold accents on his belt buckle, savored the sound of thousands of soldier feet beating the sand in unison. The man walked slowly, sure of his mission, the wind wiping his red coattails against dark trousers. Time was short. The shattered desert was near, and with its power, the Magistrate was certain of victory. So, at this point, all of this last part was basically describing Atlas, and also it tells us the Magistrate is certain of victory with him on their side. So, apparently Atlas is on the Magistrate side. That's actually good for once, because we have too many characters on the Paladin side, and it's time that we have some new characters on the Magistrate side, so we can sort of balance things, also in lore, and even, you know, I'm not entirely sure what he was, if it was a tank anymore, and I can't remember anymore. But the question here is that this entire lore leads us to think that he's on the Magistrate side, and we know that the Magistrate has this weird problem that they just seek for power, especially dark powers, abyss, and so on. Ceres was the perfect example. They tried to do that same thing with her. They had to do basically a sacrifice for the abyss to see if either they controlled it or just got power from it. Eventually, Ceres became Ceres because the abyss got into her body, just used it as a vessel, destroyed the entire city of Ceres, and so on. So they pretty much failed there, but at the same time, now we see somebody with some sort of a power related to portals or rifts or anti-gravity and so on. We also believe sort of to be related to time. Why? First of all, the entire event itself, it's called End Times. The event for Imani was Ice and Fire, exactly with the powers she uses. End Times. You sort of already can imagine what this is. Now, there's a reason why I believe that it's related to time. If you guys remember the showcase before this patch even entered BDS, they allowed us to see slow motion in the game. This is sort of a feature that probably already exists in the game. Why were they showing that to us, right? I think they were already teasing us, sort of like, hey, we gotta use that slow motion in order to them to see how it actually works, you know what I mean? So, it could be sort of something like the portal is the ultimate, people get lifted up in the air, and time gets slower for them, allowing your teammates to kill them. So it's like, as I said before, a void grip on area effect. This is most of the information we have right now. It's on the description if you guys want to go and check it out. If you can find any other things that I missed, or if I didn't understand, if you guys have a better description. If you guys have any sort of a theory about this, also don't forget to let me know. Go down there, enter the link, check it out. It's chapter 2. Don't forget, chapter 1 is the Ice and Fire. Okay, Fire and Ice, actually. So don't screw it up. Read the chapter 2, and hopefully we're going to get some more information in the future. That's it for now, for lore. So thank you so much for watching. Sorry for the long video. I was just trying to break this as easy as possible for most of the people who didn't understand half of it, or didn't even know that it was actually available for the public. So yeah, that's pretty much it for today, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys next time. Until then, have a wonderful time. Bye-bye, guys.